Mine's the biggest office.
Let's check it out. Take care, JP.
Friday the 13th prequel series cast Linda Cardellini as Pamela Voorhees. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just what you've always wanted. You've said, hey, can we have a smoking hot Mrs. Voorhees? I'll take a sip of coffee to that. So, Linda Cardellini, we reported on this about a month ago, and I said I was not opposed to it, which I'm not. You know, when we spoke last about the Friday the 13th prequel series, Crystal Lake from A24, Peacock, Brian Fuller was rumored to have had Charlize Theron in his targets, crosshairs to cast as Mrs. Voorhees. So Linda Cardellini, Velma, you know, the hottie from Grandma's Boy, you know, talented actress. I don't want to belittle her accomplishments only based upon her aesthetics. I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but she's talented, versatile. I really think that versatility is going to come into play in this series. Let's take a look at this article from Variety a couple days ago. I'm just getting to cover this now. I've been very busy on the channel with wrestling. If you're a fan of wrestling, if you're a fan of midgets, watch the midget wrestling stream, Dragon's Den, where I wrestle for Super Shogun. We hosted the Micromania tour, and I got to hang out with them after the show. They subscribe to the channel now. Some of the guys, they're absolutely awesome. We had a blast. Looking forward to working with them again. But now on with the article. Linda Cardellini is set for the lead role in the Friday the 13th prequel series at Peacock, Variety has learned. Cardellini will star as Pamela Voorhees in the expanded prequel series, which is titled Crystal Lake. The show was originally picked up straight to series at Peacock in 2022. Yes, this is going on 3 years. We've been hypothesizing, pontificating, patiently waiting, 3 years for this series. We've been waiting since 2009, which is now 16 years since the release of the last movie. We're not going to get a movie. We probably will never see another Friday the 13th movie in my lifetime, which I hope is a long time, but I would love another movie. This series, though, I am still optimistic about it. Brad Caleb Kane, the showrunner, after Brian Fuller departed due to complications from that lawsuit, sexual misconduct allegations back on the Queer for Fear set, stemming from incidents with Sam Weineman. But fans of the Friday the 13th franchise will recall that Pamela Voorhees was the mother of Jason Voorhees, the hockey mask-wearing slasher featured throughout most of the films in the horror franchise. But the original film, Jason is a child who drowns at Camp Crystal Lake. His death leads his mother Pamela to seek revenge against the counselors she blamed for her son's death. Cardellini was recently cast in a lead role in the upcoming HBO series DTF St. Louis, alongside David Harbour and Jason Bateman. She's also a 3-time Emmy nominee, 1 for Mad Men, 2 for Dead to Me. Her other TV roles include Freaks and Geeks, ER, and Bloodline. In film, Cardellini is known for her role in the Scooby-Doo live-action franchise, as well as features like Brokeback Mountain, The Founder, and playing Laura Barton in the MCU. Yeah, I forgot she was in the MCU as Hawkeye's wife. Brad Caleb Kane took over as creator, writer, showrunner, and executive producer on Crystal Lake in August of 2024. You remember our coverage of that as well here on the channel. A24 is also executive producing. Victor Miller, who penned the original film in the franchise, remains on board as an executive producer, along with Mark Toberoff, Robert Barsimian, Robert P. Barsimian, and Stuart Manischel. A24 is the studio. The original Friday the 13th was released in 1980, May 9th, 1980 to be exact. I have a ring that bears that exact date. It grossed nearly $60 million against a reported budget of $550,000. Since then, there have been 11 further films in the franchise, including Jason X, Freddy vs. Jason, and the 2009 reboot. Jason became the main antagonist, beginning in the second film. You hear a lot in terms of casting for movies like this, when you see a larger name or reputation of an actor precede them into a role like this on a series. And you're like, well, I wish they would have casted a virtually unknown. I think the role of Mrs. Voorhees is going to be portrayed as complex, especially in a series form where you have that aspect of I don't want to say deconstruction, but you're peeling back the layers, which is almost like deconstruction, but not in a negative context where you're just kind of adding more depth to the character, to the lore behind her. And the one thing that I really don't want to see them delve into is Elias Voorhees. I really don't think we need that. They've done it in print, and I don't think we need that in the movie. And I don't believe that I've ever spoken to the contrary. You know, that's kind of what I want to see, is them using the Pamela character, you know, furthering her, like I said, just adding more to her lore that may or may not be already established in, you know, forms of the print. But no, I think there's so much potential for this series. You really have a lot of material to work with, and this is the thing. And if I'm doing this, I'm focusing on the Paramount 8. I'm not going outside of that, simply because you have so much material to cover, depending on how they're going with it. Now, that being said, I've softened my stance on the 2009 Friday the 13th drastically. But that being said, I really want this, and I know at least season 1 will be. I don't know if they're going to do flash forwards or anything like that, which, depending on where you flash to, and I'll get there, I want to see this be a period piece. I really want to see, and I know season 1 will be, because we're going to delve into how Pamela kept the camp from opening back up, and, you know, the things she did maybe leading into the first movie. But as Brian Fuller was going to do, he was going to remake each of the first 4 movies in the first 4 seasons of the show. Like I said, and I've said it multiple times, we're guaranteed 2 seasons, which I believe the original agreement still stands with between the studios. 2 seasons guaranteed, option for 4, and you have to pay they have to pay a financial penalty if they don't do at least 2 seasons. So I am just absolutely optimistic. Let's get 2 great seasons so we get 4, and then hopefully we can get some more. Because I really like that formula of them taking like 6 to 8 episodes and expanding on the movies. And that would force it to be a period piece, almost. So because you really can't translate the story from the first, second, third, fourth, you know, any of the Paramount movies into modern day effectively and still make them as fun as they were. Like, you can do things with the characters, the settings, and remaking those under the lens of the aesthetic of the time period. You know, we're looking from 1980 up, and keep that gorgeous 80s aesthetic to them, and not have things like cell phones interfering with plot as MacGuffins and, you know, Deus Ex Machinas and things like that. But I don't want to see this turn into elevated horror either. I want it to keep the tenets of being a fun slasher. You know, obviously you guys know Friday the 13th is my absolute favorite horror franchise. Jason Voorhees is my favorite character. And I love 1 through 8. And I know you're well, he's not even in part 5. Well, even Roy, the ambulance driver, they did an excellent job, because the kills were fantastic in that, even with it pared down, obviously, for the MPAA. But no, I really think there's a lot of potential here with this, and I'm just so excited to see how Linda Cardellini takes on the role that Betsy Palmer, you know, played in the first movie. Even though she didn't have the most screen time, obviously Betsy Palmer left a lasting effect on all of us. And this is another thing with, you know, having Linda Cardellini come in. I was kind of hoping, and I know she's older, that at some point we would see Adrienne King play an older Mrs. Voorhees, which I know she didn't live that long, and her character wasn't supposed to be that old when she got killed in the original one. But I just think it would have been a really cool, considering Alice Hardy's dead, you know, obviously, unless you did something else with the character, you know, you spun it a different way. But I see that's one thing. Then you're getting into retcons, and I don't want to see that as much, depending on how it is handled. Yeah, I really think they missed the bus with having some of the final girls like not coming back, as in Ginny, which we know Amy Steele left. She wanted to do other things other than horror, and then she later regretted it. And the gal that played Chris Higgins in part 3, she would have been fantastic to have her come back. You know, it's just there in part 6 with the sheriff's daughter, you know, Megan. It just, yeah, you had a lot of cool, and Tina, you know, Rennie, not so much in part 8, but yeah, they've had a lot of good final girls in the Friday the 13th series, and that's why I always laugh when you would see critics say, oh, it's so misogynistic and all this, and it's like, Dude, the final character is usually a badass female who has relied upon her wits and resources to get to the point she's at and fight for survival against a much larger and more deadly opponent. So that was one thing that always killed me when the critics would pan these movies as being, you know, because there's women that die in them. It's like, so it only can be men getting killed by these characters? You know, but anyway, that's a whole nother video and a whole nother topic, and I don't really want to go there because I'm happy and I'm actually not complaining about something that I have to report on, which is awesome. So thank you guys for watching. I want to know what you think of Linda Cardellini's casting in the comment section below, and link to our Patreon is right here. You can go over there and check us out. We have a lot of uploads, a lot of movie commentaries, a lot of fun stuff over on patreon.com/Wrestling with Horror 420. Go check us out. You can join as a channel member, either $2.99 or $4.99. We do a member stream every Monday night, and we watch WWE Monday Night Raw live for channel members only. Then we go live publicly and review the show after, but you get to watch along with us. That's for channel members for $2.99 or $4.99. Join today as a Harvey Wakuian producer or a Kazooian. There you have it, folks. And if not, like I said, just subscribe. It's free. It always will be. I am Pete from Wrestling with Horror. If I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow. I'll catch you on the next one. And remember, it's always better to burn out than fade away.